quality standards process, blah blah blah. And yeah, so we've got to waste however many months going through ISO 9001 or whatever it is, so we can tick a box so that says that we do something that we already do. Now, and I'd rather not work with the client, frankly.
Final supplemental question, sorry.
Yeah, go.
Who won the FA Cup in 1927?
27? Oh, that's going back too far.
Yeah.
Well, I guess
thought that'd be
Burnley.
more your time, Marcus.
Says probably the oldest man in there.
Thank you very much. Pass the mic over on that.
Yeah, there you go, Ian.
So,
I don't like the start yet.
so you're in a lift with a BBC commissioner.
Yeah.
You're thinking, back of your head, Boagworld TV.
Right.
Give us a 10-second elevator pitch of why Boag TV.
Why Boag TV? How do you think Boag TV would be an enormous mistake? Look at
Go
me.
to the bar.
Do I really look like a TV presenter?
You do, yes.
You do. What do you mean yes? Why is there anything not
Or
do?
10 seconds of running out.
I'm sorry, okay. 10 seconds for Boag World BBC TV. Okay, think about that fashion boutique program where that woman goes into the fashion boutiques and she sorts out their business. How many people have a fashion boutique? Very, very few. How many people run or own a website? A considerable amount more. So how much more would it be good to do a similar thing where somebody goes in, analyses a website and relaunches their website? There you go.
Pimp my website. You see what they do to the cars on that programme?
Yeah.
That's basically as many flashing gifts and things.
Yeah, that's okay. That's just
Okay, fine.
Anyone?
yeah, the one here. Yeah. Yeah.
Hi, my question is
Close to your mouth.
sorry.
These are rubbish, these ones.
My question is revolving around clients rapport and how you approach the subject of getting paid, basically.
On the basis of what you were talking about earlier.
Yes, it relates nicely on. I find that the hardest thing in that I work hard to build a relationship with my clients and we have a rapport and they're all talking about stuff they want with their website and stuff, and I always feel like if I start talking about cash and money matters, that everything will then hit a dead stop, and I get to the stage where I'm asking if I can, or they're asking me if they can do stuff, and I'm going, yeah, well, it's only an extra maybe 5 minutes of work, or an extra 10 minutes of work, but it might actually be an hour, and then it leads into 2 hours, and then I don't ever put that into my final bill. And I'm wondering, how do you approach that, and are you really cutthroat and going, okay, well, if you want an extra page or an extra paragraph, an extra image put in, or, you know, that's going to be an extra X amount of pounds.
Yeah. No, we don't do that. We would just kind of probably an extra paragraph of content and an extra image or something like that. Then no, you can get too anal over pricing and you'll piss your clients off. But I'm not going to start talking about contracts, but agree 95%, if not more, of it up front, what you're going to do, and get it into a legal document between the two of you. And going through that process of agreeing that legal document, you will kind of work out more of what the requirements are for the project. You get into more and more detail the more you go back that document back and forth. So yeah, have something in place before you start working.
I think it's also important to talk about money and to be upfront about money, because otherwise you're not just doing yourself a disservice, you're doing the client a disservice. Because, you know, if ultimately, in the examples you gave earlier, which we now have to put in the show because I'm referring to it, in the example you gave earlier, the mistake there actually, you know, you used it as an example of a client from hell, but to be honest, not to be rude, it was probably your fault.
Yeah, it was my mistake.
Yeah, because you know, he suddenly had this surprise of a big bill that he wasn't expecting. So you're better off talking about it up front. And if people start layering in changes as the project goes on, which all clients do, and that to some extent is understandable, because you know, as they're thinking in more detail, they're thinking of more things. They're not in the position we are of being able to think ahead. Then you need a change control procedure, which is just an email where you email them and you say, look, this is going to be X number of additional hours work, so that's going to work out as this additional charge, and they email you back saying yay or nay to it. And just be completely upfront the whole way through.
And you talk about that before, as part of the contract, the initial contract you sign with them. This will be part of the contract, this change control procedure. So if a piece of work is going to be, you could be vague and say substantial, or you could say 2 hours work, half a day's work, on top of what we've already agreed. Then we will get agreement for this extra cost, and via email, that kind of thing, as Paul just said. That's standard practice with any kind of contract.
Do you want to hand the mic across to Tom? He seems to have something
it's just a comment. I think it depends on the client as well. Like, if it's McDonald's or someone, you can say, well, we're going to charge a £35 change fee. Maybe you want to change the comma on this page. That's actually how they do it in print. Once you've signed off once you've signed off on, say, a report, and it's going to print, and you say, oh, we need to make a last-minute change. It may only be moving a comma or changing a semicolon or something, and it's like, boom, £35, boom, £35, and that's how they make the money.
Yeah.
But then that wouldn't work if it's like, the local primary school, but it would work if it's McDonald's.
But actually I would be the opposite. If it was McDonald's, I would actually be more, I would be, okay, it's McDonald's, I don't want to screw up this relationship with this client. They can have whatever the hell they want within reason.
If it was McDonald's, I would agree that some of the work was on a time and materials basis anyway.
Yeah.
So, and then...
Next question. Oh, we've got one over. Oh, okay, you've got the mic, so go for it.
I'd just like to know, in your presentations and your pitches for work, how many alternatives does Paul use for the word innovative?
Best question of the night. Have we got a prize? Have we got a prize?
Yeah. No, I've already given this guy a prize. It's a very fair question, and it is a continual problem to me, because it's a word you want to use a lot, but at least in web design it is, and I cannot say it.
And your wife isn't always with you?
No.
Or me.
He often has to fill in for me.
Paul's in the middle of a sentence, and it's a really kind of
Let's all innovative now.
No.
Innovative.
Let's not.
All together.
Can you use it in a sentence?
Pass the mic on.
My question is boring compared to that, but it's something you talked about quite a lot, and it's about putting a cap on the number of design suggestions you're prepared to make, and it's an issue that I keep struggling with, so I was wondering if you've got a policy about it at the moment.
Are you talking about speculative designs or iterations of design?
No, iterations of design.
Well, our policy is that we'll do as many as is required, obviously within, if it gets silly.
Yeah, it's a bit like, you know when your broadband suppliers say fair use? That's us.
We took that decision quite a long time ago, because sometimes you'll do a design for a client and they go, that's fantastic, that's it, you've done it. And others will go, I don't like that. We don't like that.
Yeah, and it can go on
and it can
forever.
like that. But if you kind of look at it as an average, we kind of it wasn't that scientific. We kind of thought, well, probably on average we spend this amount of time on design work, and that's what we charge all our clients for design work.
But I would...
And then, sorry.
No, go on, finish what you said.
Well, I'm just going to repeat myself, so carry on.
I would say it's not a matter of how many iterations you do. It's a matter of how you lead the the client through the design process. That I think what often happens is, as designers, we become yes men. We think, well, this person. You get one of two